In a recent poll that I did on my community tab here on YouTube, I asked how many of you plan to visit Italy this year or as soon as possible. A resounding 93% of you said yes. So this is interesting because if you plan to visit Italy, I do think there are a few things that you need to be aware of. I've covered some of these aspects in previous videos before, but I want to collate them in this one video to give you some bite-sized tips that can help you if you are planning to visit Italy this year, and something else that I think you'll find very useful indeed. So the first aspect that you need to be aware of is not every organised tour is going to be authentic. Now, I feel like I have to say not every because there are some exceptions, of course, but essentially what you need to remember is if you book a package experience or an organised tour, especially through your hotel or even through like a travel agency, often those guided tours or experiences are businesses within themselves, which means that all of the people involved in that particular package usually benefit from a commission because they are working together to attract tourists to their businesses. So essentially, you need to recognize that and understand that on the back of that, you may not have the most authentic experience. Now, I can talk about this from firsthand insight because essentially when I first came to the south of Italy back in 2017, I actually booked one of these package experiences through my hotel to go to the Amalfi. And I remember as part of that experience, it involved eating at a restaurant right in the centre of Amalfi itself. And I was kind of blinded at the time by the romance of everything. I was like, this is amazing, this is beautiful, I'm in the Amalfi. Little did I know though that unfortunately it was only until later on when I actually moved to Salerno and I got to visit Amalfi as somebody who lived in that part of Italy now and no longer a tourist, that the restaurant that I had thought was really authentic and really wonderful actually wasn't any of the above. It was an establishment that purely catered for tourists. None of the locals actually went there and the food wasn't the best either. So it does pay to do your research. If you are keen on booking a package tour or experience, try to understand the names of the places and establishments that you will visit as part of that tour so that you can do your own independent research on websites like TripAdvisor to understand if these places are actually going to be of any good. I say to do this because as much as in the moment you might not realise that you are not having a truly authentic experience, it is something that upsets me because I think that when you come here, many tourists stay in this bubble. They stay in this bubble of what they believe life is like, and they never get to experience the true heart and soul of this country. And sometimes tourists don't appreciate the food because they don't eat at the best places, or they don't appreciate certain aspects of a city because they only see the places where everybody tends to go. So really and truly be a little bit discerning with these package experiences. Try to investigate all the different aspects that are included and see if it's something that, you know, may still interest you, or if it's something that you can do yourself. If you have an idea of where you're staying and it's not too difficult to organise where you might go for lunch or what you might do in the afternoon, see if you can organise something yourself. I guarantee you will have a much more authentic experience if you are in control of the places that you're going to. The next tip I have for you is actually when it comes to eating out. Make sure you check your bill meticulously. Now, just as a little side note, every establishment in Italy needs to give you a receipt when you pay for something. It's to do with the law here because essentially somebody once told me that if the police were to stop you outside an establishment, they would want to see the receipt for what you've paid for. It's a way for them to monitor any businesses that are kind of involved in tax evasion and people who are not paying tax properly, because if you are issuing a receipt, you are issuing documents to say that you are making a purchase, and essentially it's a way to indicate that the business is being run professionally. So in every establishment you should be given a receipt, and if you don't receive one, you are well within your rights to ask for one. But the reason I say this is because you need to be able to identify every single aspect of your bill. Unfortunately, even me living here in Palermo, in the centre, in the historical centre. I have been ripped off before at a restaurant where they have added hidden extras into my bill for things that I never ordered or received. So really do your research. This happens everywhere. Even in London, there are some businesses that try their luck, but it disappoints me because essentially it's not a way to treat people who are here to enjoy the beauty of this country. So make sure you check your bill thoroughly. Also, don't forget about the coperto. If you sit down at a restaurant here in Italy, you will pay what is known as the coperto, which is a per person cover charge. Now, this varies depending on the establishment itself. More high-end establishments tend to have a higher coperto, maybe as much as €5 per person. But generally speaking, it's at least a couple of euros per person that will be added to your bill at the end. And this should be referenced on the menu, or there should be a sign within the restaurant itself to say how much it's going to be. If there isn't, make sure you ask so that you are aware before you start ordering food of any extra costs that are going to be added at the end. Please also note as well that table water and bread, sometimes that is included for free as part of the coperto, but sometimes it isn't. So that's another thing that you need to be aware of as to whether or not the water that you're ordering, especially if it's in a bottle, bottled water you tend to have to pay for. Tap water tends to be free. So that's something else that you need to consider as well. You don't want to be stung with hidden extras at the end because you thought that they were included in the coperto. Something that I'm often asked as well, over on Instagram especially, and also by email, is whether or not I do guided tours of the city that I'm currently living in, Palermo. Now, the answer is no, and the reason it's no is because if you want to be an official tour guide here in Italy, you need to sit what is actually a rather tough exam and obtain a license in order to be able to lawfully operate as a tour guide. Now, there are many people that don't do this and they don't have licenses and they operate kind of unofficially, but it's risky, it's against the law, and also it's rather disrespectful to those people who have taken months and months and months to study for the license, because it's really not an easy feat at all. So essentially, if you are booking a tour guide, make sure they are licensed. They should have a license number. They should be very proud of the fact that they are licensed. So you'll more than likely understand this from the very beginning, but be careful of booking any kind of rogue tour guides who may not have the necessary knowledge of your city, may charge you a lot more than a normal licensed tour guide may charge you, and essentially are not operating lawfully. So be very aware of that. Not many people know this, and I think it's something that's very important to add into these tips. Another tip I will give you is to utilize the free information online. That's right. If you're on a budget and you don't have the money to pay for tour guides or to pay for travel guides in general, utilize what you have available online. Research content creators on YouTube who live in the part of Italy that you want to visit. Watch some of their videos, reach out to them, ask them questions. Understand what life is like here through the eyes of other people who are actually living there. YouTube is a fantastic resource for planning a holiday, and I think sometimes people forget about just how useful it can be. So I would say utilize YouTube, utilize websites, blogs, free guides that you can find online. But I understand that this method isn't for everybody, because when you are planning your own holiday without the assistance of a travel agency or somebody who's helping you, it can be very, very overwhelming, particularly because there is a lot of information online. And sometimes you don't know what is genuine and what isn't. And also, you do have to factor in that one person's experience of something is going to be very different to another's. So it can feel very, very overwhelming, especially if you have specific requirements that need to be met on your holiday, which is where I can help. So although I cannot offer you a guided tour personally here in Palermo for the reasons I've mentioned before, I have just launched my very own personalized guides of Palermo. Now, what this means, if you're interested to know more, is that essentially I will create a bespoke, tailored travel guide for Palermo just for you, based on your individual needs, requirements, the things that you want to kind of do and experience here in Palermo on holiday. I will collate an interactive digital travel guide just for you based on all of your individual needs. The personalised guide includes a 1-hour Google Meet call where we will speak together and understand even better your requirements. You can ask me all the questions you have about Palermo and travel here. I'm happy to help. And then I will create this digital guide, which will include itineraries, recommendations, Google Maps, points of interest, also insider tips, as well as a little video that will accompany the guide, so you get to kind of see what you're going to be doing ahead of your trip here. Now, this is a service that I know will benefit so many of you who are short on time and don't have like the kind of bandwidth to go searching through the internet looking for this information. If you're interested to know more about this service, click below in the show notes or up here. I'll put the link up here and you can have a look at this new service that I have just this week launched, and I'm super excited about it. This guide as well isn't just me creating it. I'm also collaborating with a born and bred Palermitan to create this guide so that you can be sure of having a truly authentic Italian experience here in Palermo and not just doing the same old things that every tourist does here. So I think it's a wonderful guide to help you to have a really authentic experience here. So go ahead and look at the website and see what's included. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me over on Instagram by DM or pop me an email and I can help you with that. I'm also very shortly going to be launching some separate travel guides and expat guides if you're interested. My travel guides are kind of more generic and fixed for different locations, but will always be focused on the more authentic experiences and not the traditional tourist places. And then my expat guides are going to help you if you plan to move to Italy, because I've been there, I've done it, I've worn the t-shirt, and I continue to do it even now, 6 years in. And I want to help you to overcome some of the challenges that I faced and also help to prepare you so that you can make a success of your life here. So go and have a look at my website. I talk about all of these services here. The travel guides and expat guides will be launching soon, but the personalized guide is up, ready, available. So if you're interested, go ahead and have a look on my website. As well, it would be remiss of me not to talk about your own personal safety and belongings when you're here in Italy. Now, Italy is predominantly a safe country, but tourists can still be the victims of pickpocketing and theft. So make sure you really look after your personal belongings. Consider investing in bags that wrap over your shoulders where you can always see the zip. Consider not putting things in your pockets if you can help it. Just be very, very aware, because in busy packed places like markets, for example, and on the metro or just in the main centre itself, pickpockets and thieves do operate. So just as you are in your own city, make sure you have your head switched on here in Italy too. And I promise that you'll have a much better experience as a result. Finally, it goes without saying, but try to plan ahead a little bit what you intend to do. Because you want to be able to organise yourself in case you need to book train tickets or if you need to book bus tickets. I don't really advise the bus here in Italy, especially in the south. It's not the most reliable form of transport. But if you need to book certain things, you need to be organised and you need to understand if there is the possibility to do this online before you arrive, which can be very beneficial. But start to plan yourself in advance, the things that you're going to be doing here. Don't wait until you arrive to start to work this out. Do a bit of preparation before, and I promise that you'll have a much better experience overall. I hope this video has helped. If you're interested in my guides, then make sure you check them out on my website, and I will see you in the next video.